Sigurd's Snake in the Eye, Song of the Forgotten Son. An epic tale of blood, betrayal, and the burning spark of fate. Prologue, the Serpent's Eye. When Aslaug gave birth to Ragnar Lothbrok's fourth son, everyone in Kattegat whispered. The boy had eyes, one of which shone brightly with a dark curl, as if a tiny snake had curled up in the pupil. Everyone considered it a sign, some a curse, others a gift. They named him Sigurd, but even the gods, watching from Asgard, whispered one word: Snake's Eye. Sigurd grew up not in Ragnar's shadow, but in the shadow of his brothers, the fearless Bjorn, the cruel Ivar, the noble Ubbe, the unstable Hvitserk. His life began not as a triumph, but as an expectation. When would he prove that he was no weaker, no worse, or maybe even stronger? Chapter 1. Born in the Ice. Sigurd was a child of the storm. His mother Aslaug, daughter of Sigurd himself, possessed magic like the mist over the fjords. She often said, "Sigurd, you see more than the rest. The snake in your eye is not an enemy, but a seer." The boy studied with warriors, watched Floki as he drew long lines on the plank of a new longship. He listened to Athelstan's tales, saw his father's rivalry with the gods, and heard his mother's nightly screams when dreams led her to the dead. But there was no fury of Ivar in him, or glory of Bjorn. He was calm, too calm, and it frightened even his mother. Chapter 2. The First Battles. Sigurd first held a sword at the age of 12. He had grown up in Kattegat, when Ragnar had disappeared and Aslaug had ruled. But her power was weakening, and her enemies were increasingly trying to overthrow her. When Eirik of Hedeby led his fleet to the coast, it was Sigurd, not Ubbe, who led the first defenders. He did not shout like Ivar, nor beat on shields like Bjorn. He walked silently, and it was impossible to take your eyes off his eye, in which a dark spiral twisted. It was a small battle, but his sword, called Glonner, the one who sees through the shield, tasted blood for the first time. Chapter 3. Brothers and Enemies. When Ragnar returned after years of wandering, Sigurd watched as his brother Ivar rushed towards him. Ivar was as mad as the sea at high tide. Sigurd stood still, studying the old man, the father who had abandoned them. "You cannot love," Sigurd had told Ragnar. "You can disappear." That evening the brothers held a council. Ivar, Ubbe, Hvitserk, Sigurd, each had his own vision of revenge for Ragnar's death, which the English had later brought. Sigurd wanted strategy, not chaos, and it was then that the enmity that would eventually turn to hatred between him and Ivar began to grow. Chapter 4. Revenge. When Ragnar died in the Pit of Vipers, the brothers' eyes were turned to England. A great Viking army, the largest that Europe had ever seen, was marching east. Sigurd led one of the fleets. He stormed York, where the English were trying to hold their ground. And if Ivar tore bodies and laughed, Sigurd walked calmly, like a judge. It was he who executed the English priest who mocked the beliefs of Asgard. "Are you afraid of hell?" Sigurd asked. "And I will create it here." His blade passed through his throat, and silence reigned for a moment. Chapter 5. Love in the Shadow of the Sword. In Northumbria, Sigurd met Alice, the daughter of a Danish jarl taken prisoner by the English. She was intelligent, silent, with red hair that burned like autumn. She was not afraid of him, even when she saw his snake eye. "In your gaze not death, but loneliness," she said. They made love in an old stone tower, at the very edge of the kingdom. He did not promise her eternity, only this night. She braided a ribbon of amber into his hair, the only thing he would have until he died. Chapter 6. Blood in the Family. That war did not end. The brothers were divided. Ubbe wanted peace. Ivar wanted strength. Sigurd was between them. Ivar accused him of weakness, Sigurd of his brother's madness. Their arguments escalated into open conflict. During one quarrel, Ivar threw his axe, not into the ground,